everyone. Today now we will discuss on the topic pollution types and sources. In the previous classes we have seen that nature has cyclic processes, and if pollution is generated into the environment, then naturally it can heal to some extent. But due to ever increasing population growth and the increase in pollution load, the natural cycles, the processes are not able to accommodate those. As a result, many places the ecosystem is being altered and different types of consequences we are facing. So, pollution generation is very important. We have to know how the pollutions is being generated, what are the sources and what are the types, how it is entering into the water or it is entering into the air, and how it is entering into the living organisms. So, one way, what is the source, where it is coming into the environment, and from environment to the living organisms. So, transportation of the pollutants in the environment is also very important. So, in this class we will see what are pollution, pollutants and their types, then sources of pollution or pollutants, and we will see water pollution, air pollution, soil pollution and pollution from industries. So, what is pollution? Pollution is the introduction of contaminants or harmful materials into the natural environment that cause adverse change. So, this is the pollution, and these harmful materials are called pollutants. Then pollution can take the form of chemical substances or energy such as noise, heat, etc. And as I mentioned, that entry of these pollutants to the environment is very important, along with its pathway, how it is being passed from one place to others and how it enters into the living organism, that is also very important. So, the pathway of pollution is the way the pollutant moves from source, enters into the environment, and finally, how it reaches the human body or other recipients. So, these are the phenomena which is happening in the environment, and we are getting more pollutants in our body automatically. Now, pollutants can be either naturally occurring contaminants or it may be man made. So, naturally occurring contaminants such as volcanic ash or may be created by human activity that we are talking about, that is from household, from industrial sectors, from commercial sectors, different human activities are creating the pollution. So, one is natural, another is your man made, and pollutants may be in the form of gas, liquid and solid, as well as energy. It may be heat energy or it may be noise also, and these damage the quality of air, water and land. Now, natural or man made, whatever may be the source, the pollutants may be generated in a point, that is called point source, that is we are able to identify where the pollution is being generated, and maybe some non-point sources. So, non-point sources it is very difficult to identify where from these pollutions has entered into the environment. I will give you some example, and apart from these, man made pollutants can be from domestic, industrial, agricultural and transport activities. Okay. So, now we have seen that pollutants can be in gaseous, liquid or solid phase. Now, we will see what are the gaseous pollutants. So, gaseous air pollutants are emitted from various natural sources such as volcanoes and forest fires. These are the two major sources for air pollution. However, anthropogenic emissions of some gases may be greater than the natural ones and are increasing because of population growth and industrialization. So, many man made pollutions are also entering into the atmosphere. And liquid pollutants, if we see, then liquid pollutants usually come from liquid waste, which includes human excreta, both feces and urine, industrial wastewaters and other forms of waste from water using activities. Factories generate liquid waste from activities related to washing in the manufacturing process, cleaning objects and chemical mixing. Sewage, another liquid form of waste. This is a mixture of human excreta from water flush toilets and other wastewater from houses and businesses. Sewage and human waste from overflowing septic tanks and latrines are frequent sources of the pollution. These are very regular. Apart from this, urban runoff. So, when raining, okay, so the urban runoff can contain a lot of organic matter, and this may come from open defecation or inappropriate handling of organic wastes produced from households and businesses during rainy season. So, at a very small period, huge amount of water is pouring, and at that time that flood like situations or huge amount of water is going to the river and taking the pollutants which is available on the land. So, organic matter includes anything that is derived from living organisms such as human and animal waste and decaying plants and food. So, these are also going to the water, and industry also, industrial wastewater is generated, we have mentioned. And now we are coming to solid waste. So, solid waste is any solid material that is assumed not to be useful and is therefore thrown away. So, factories, businesses and households produce different kinds of solid waste such as paper, plastics, metals, okay, chemicals in solid form, pieces of cloth or food and animal remains. Sometimes fecal matter is discarded with solid waste, which adds to the problems. So, those are also one way of the solid waste contamination. And the noise pollution, we know that means unacceptable levels of noise in work, residential and recreational places. Now, we will see the point source and a non-point source. So, point source, as we mentioned, that are identifiable points or places that we can easily locate, and an example is the say diesel truck or motor vehicles or say scooter. So, their engine is using fuel and it is emitting the pollution, okay, emission. So, that is a we are able to identify, but when the pollution comes, say runoff, okay. So, during flood situations or huge raining. So, at that time the pollutants is coming from many places and getting entry into the river, but here in some other cases say a particular factory or say Roorkee town. So, after the collection of the wastewater, so that can go to the river. So, that we can identify, like for example, here for any town it is coming here. So, this can be a point source, but here we cannot identify from where sources the water is coming and from where source what sources the pollutants are getting entry into the water stream. So, this is our non-point sources. Now, we will see point sources like say municipal wastewater, it is coming as I had given you an example from Roorkee. So, industrial wastewater, from which industry it is coming and getting into which river or tributaries. So, from small tributaries to big river it is going. So, then also we can identify. So, all are point sources, but non-point sources say untreated sewage, sewage is not treated, it is going and entered into this agricultural runoff, urban and suburban runoff and groundwater. So, these are the non-point sources, we do not know where from these pollutants are coming, and it is very difficult to treat and regulate for non-point sources, but the point sources are easier to regulate and treat. Okay. So, these are different types of pollutants we are getting. Now, we will be seeing the pathways, how the pollutants are distributed from one place to other place, okay, and how it is getting entry into the living organisms. So, the pathway between source and recipient can take several different forms depending on the type of pollutants. Primary recipients for pollution are water, air and soil, and pollutants usually reach human through the consumption of contaminated and polluted water and food and breathing polluted air. So, it is these are the major routes through which the pollutants are getting entry into the human body, and once the pollutants is released into the environment, the worst effects of many pollutants are reduced by one or more of the following processes. How it is? Say some industry is producing some gas streams which is having some pollutants, but when it will be distributed in a local area. So, so the concentration will be gradually decreased as you go away from the point of source. So, that way dispersion. So, smoke dispersions into the air and is no longer noticeable away from the source, another example. So, due to the dispersion of that, the concentration of pollutants gradually decreases and that its severity becomes lower. Another is dilution. So, a river stream is going. So, from any municipality some water stream is wastewater stream is coming and getting entry into it. So, with downstream if you go away, then we will see the concentration is gradually decreasing. So, that way dilution, and then deposition, and sometimes some chemical reactions can take place and something can settle in that river bed also. So, the deposition and degradation, and some compounds can be degraded. They say in a river stream some organics are available. So, those say easily biodegradable. So, microbes will work on it and it will be degraded, and some pollutants are there, those cannot be easily biodegraded, and those are called persistent chemicals, and those remains for longer period in the environment. So, that way there are different methods through which the concentration is reduced or can be reduced. That is why if the pollution generation is less, so naturally the environment can be healed up, but if the generation of pollution is very high, so natural process cannot work. So, now we will see here say point sources like municipal sewage and industrial waste. These are, we know that point sources, and non point source agricultural runoff and urban runoff, and we see different pollutants which may be available in this. So, BOD, nutrients, pathogens, suspended solids, salts, toxic metals, toxic organics, heat, etc., as given in this table. Now, we will see what is water pollution. So, we will focusing on the contamination of water. So, we see that major sources are domestic sewage, industrialization, and then population growth, pesticides and fertilizers use, and plastics and polythene bags. And this is another plastics and polythene bag, that is microplastic issue, which is being reported very recently, that it is available in the human blood also. So, although the impact is not known, but it is getting entry, the plastic is getting entry into the human body through the drinking water, that has been reported. And then urbanization is another source, okay, and weak management systems. If our management systems is not that strong, so proper treatment will not be possible. So, easily the surface water will be contaminated, or even the groundwater will be contaminated. So, that way the pollution will be taking place. And you see the water pollution is characterized by the presence of excess physical, chemical or biological substances that change the qualities of the water and are capable of causing harm to living organisms, and polluted water should not be used for drinking, washing, bathing or agriculture. We will be seeing the standards in next chapters. If polluted water is used by humans, then it can adversely affect the body in different ways depending on the type and concentration of pollutants. So, it is reported that 75 to 80% water pollution is caused by the domestic sewage. So, this is very good information. That is a debate, or we do not know in normally which one is producing more pollution, industry or domestic. You see here some statistics on it. It is reported that 75 to 80% water pollution is caused by domestic sewage, and 80% of the world's population is facing threats to water security, and 25% pollution is caused by the industries and is more harmful. Although pollution is less, but more severe and more harmful in case of industrial pollution of the water. And the WHO reports that 80% diseases are waterborne, and water pollution can affect surface water such as rivers and lakes, soil moisture and groundwater in aquifers, as well as the oceans, like say microplastics in ocean is another topic, current topic, the people are giving more focus on it day by day. And these are the different sources of wastewater. You see, from the domestic I have already discussed, and industries, and seawater ingress, and rain leachate, and oil spilling. So, out of these, this domestic, industrial, and leachates, these are very important and larger in volume and regular, we can get it. And this domestic also we can get sewage, and now the new thought process is going on to separate the wastewater generated in the domestic sectors into two parts, that is black water and grey water. So, grey water, the wastewater which is generated in the kitchen, bathroom, washing machines, etc., and the black water is latrines and toilets. So, these two different types of water, that means in terms of quality. So, now efforts are on to separate these two and separate grey water from this black water, and with treatment to reuse it. So, that way the efforts are going on. Now, we will see, because of these different sources, the different types of pollutants are also getting entry into the water stream. Say for example, if we consider a domestic wastewater, it can contain say solids, that is total solid, dissolved solids, suspended solids, BOD, TOC, COD, total nitrogen, total phosphorus, chloride, sulphate, alkalinity, grease, total coliform. So, these are, and their concentration can also vary. So, some are low strength, some are medium strength, and some are high strength, and the concentrations are given in this table. So, that way we know what pollutants are getting entry into the water through what type of sources. Now, if we see the landfill leachates, so then the parameters are something different. Some metals are there, manganese, iron, magnesium, calcium, sulphate, BOD, COD is also there, pH is also there. So, here we are getting some acidogenic phase and methanogenic phase in case of leaching, or when the organics are in the landfill. So, then anaerobic condition prevails. So, the organic compounds are converted into biogas through different steps. The first step is acidogenic, acetogenesis, hydrolysis, acidogenesis, acetogenesis, and then last is your methanogenesis. So, methanogenesis takes place at higher pH, but other are lower pH. So, these two, if we take the leaching or the water getting out from the solids under these two different steps. So, we will be getting different pollutants. So, these are the given here in this table, and these are the common water pollutants available in the water. And these are the quality parameters as well. We will discuss in the next class on it. So, different types of physical, biochemical properties, and then chemical and microbiological different properties we will discuss in the next class. And now we are coming to air pollution. So, air pollution is defined as the presence of abnormal amounts of chemical constituents in the air which are capable of causing harm to living organisms. And then polluted air may contain particulate matter and many different gaseous chemicals such as carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, SOx, ozone, nitrates, sulphates, organic hydrocarbons, and many others. The most common sources of air include the burning of wood, charcoal, and other biomass fuel by households, small businesses such as bakeries, manufacturing industries, and vehicles. And then clean air consists, we know that around 78 to 79% of nitrogen and around 21% of oxygen, and rest is your gases. And the main cause of this air pollution we see both from your natural as well as man-made sources, and natural sources dust storm and wildfires, and other animal and vegetations, and then volcanic activity, and man-made your fossil fuel emissions, agriculture and animal husbandry sectors, and waste also we can burn it or we can during managing it some pollutant can also come into the air, and main cause is your combustion. This is the main cause. So, we use the fuels, then air, and then it gives these are the different pollutants which are produced during the combustion of it. So, particulate matter SPM, suspended particulate matter, 10, particulate matter 2.5 are those are very important, and previously SPM was used, but now with the day by day more understanding is being developed, and it is found that the particle size of the suspended particles are not same, and they are having different impact on human health. So, PM10, that means 10 micrometer particles or it is less, and then PM 2.5 particle size of average is 2.5 or less. So, that is way. So, PM 2.5 and 10 are there, and VOC is your volatile organic carbons. So, these are available in the air through different sources, like say usage handling of chemicals, paint, varnishes, perfumes, CFCs, petrol pumps, etc., cement handling, insulation on winding of motors, alternators and transformers, etc. Those are also the source of air pollution, and this is the main culprit if we see here contribution of PM10. So, here transport 18%, 14% is biofuel, and then 11% industry, 5% power and 52% others. Similarly, for contribution of PM 2.5 emissions from different sources, you see here transport is 38. So, then industry 16 and other 26, and 3 is power and 17 is biofuel. So, that we are talking about. So, these different PM 10 and PM 2.5 has different toxicity or different impact on human health, and those are generated from different sources also. So, that I wanted to highlight here, and then SOx and NOx which are also available. SOx is coming from burning, combustion of fuel containing sulfur. So, that is H2 is released is converted to SO2, 10 teragram per year natural sources SO2 production, and 75 teragram per year anthropogenic sources of SOx, and for nitrogen we see NOx. So, primarily NO and NO2, these two, and others are maybe NO3, N2O, N2O3, N2O4, N2O5 are also known to occur. So, these are the different composition of NOx, and thermal NOx created by oxidations of atmospheric nitrogen when temperature greater than 1000 K. So, again through the process, and fuel NOx from oxidation of nitrogen in fuel, and the lead pollutant of air, that is the gasoline and paints. So, this gasoline was in history, today the unleaded petrol are used, and metal processing, that is another sources, and highest air lead concentrations in the vicinity of non-ferrous and ferrous smelters and battery manufacturers. So, these are the sources of lead in the air, and then we see the soil pollution. So, soil pollution also called land pollution is linked to water pollution. Liquid waste containing toxic chemicals or pathogenic microorganisms on the surface of the land can sweep slowly into the soil and may percolate down to contaminate groundwater. Okay. So, when it is going, then this can affect people using springs or wells in the area, and possible sources include open defecation, pit latrines or leaking storage containers for industrial chemicals and wastes, and solid waste can cause soil pollution. Household waste typically consists mostly of food waste that will gradually decompose and it will contaminate the soil as well as the water also. So, this produces a bad odor and attracts insects and rats, both of which contribute to the transmission of disease, and as the waste decomposes it produces a liquid called leachates which trickles down into the soil, and leachate is a highly concentrated liquid pollutant that may contain toxic chemicals and pathogenic microorganisms as well as high levels of organic compounds, and rainwater falling on and washing through solid waste adds to the problem. So, solid waste when rain takes place, so then also leaching takes place and it gets entry into the soil as well as the water, and soil pollution can affect agricultural activity and pollute the foods. So, you will be nowadays it is report is available that arsenic is available in rice also. Okay. Heavy metals are available in vegetables. So, those food also are being contaminated, and soil contamination is one of the reason for that. Now, we will see the industrial emission or from the industry we will see here. So, there are different types of industries, and different types of industries have different potential to generate pollution. Okay. And according to the nature of the industry and the amount of pollution generated and the type of toxicity or severity, these industries are classified into 3 category, basically red category, orange category and green category. So, red type, that is these A17 and B47. So, these are the red type industries which are very hazardous type. Basically, the pollutants generated by these are more toxic and has more severe impact. So, these are separated from the others, but orange type is intermediate, around 25 types of industry types are under orange type, and green type are another those industries which has very less pollution creation. So, those are green type. So, now the industry which do not fall in any of the above mentioned 3 categories, then decision with regard to their categorization will be taken by committee at head office level, comprising of the member secretary and 2 senior officials of the board committee, in which state the industry is there. So, the member secretary of that state pollution control board along with some other officers, they will decide under which category it will fall. And what is the importance of this categorization of industry? Because their pollution generation will be more and it will be more impact on the human health. So, more stricter norms will be applicable. Okay. So, that is the reason to categorize these industries, and grossly polluting industries are basically under the red type industry. Those produces extensive pollution. Okay. So, their amount is also high and their type is such that the pollutants are very harmful to the human health and other animals as well. So, in industry we can get emission, we can get effluents, we can get noise also. So, all type of pollution are created by the industry. And now, some examples composition of some industrial wastewater. Here we see paper and pulp, distillery, sugar, oil refinery, petrochemicals. So, here BOD, COD is extreme in case of distillery. You see, in case of domestic we have only COD around 1000. So, here we have COD is equal to 1,10,000 to 1,90,000. So, special type of pollutants are present in it. So, certainly this will be more undesirable and it will be having more potential to create impacts on human health. And some other composition of the organic compounds present in the industrial wastewater are provided here, and we see there is no similarity, all are different and some are specific. So, special treatment is also needed for the management of these waste streams, and more stricter norms are applied, so that these will be treated in the factory premise and the treated water will only be getting entry into the water stream. So, now we are able to discuss the different sources of pollutions into the environment, into the water, into the air and into the soil, and how these get entry into the living organisms that we have discussed. So, up to this in this class, thank you very much for your patience.